Welcome back to the Live, Love, Survive, Thrive show. I'm Dr. Kimberly Hubinet, and today I have a special guest that I met really on the internet, and I loved her information. She is the owner of the Unleashed Heart. She's an advanced certified grief recovery specialist, author, and a live coach. She also has a podcast called Grieving Voices, right? And her name is Victoria Volk. And I'd really like to have Victoria introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she's doing right now. Welcome, Vicky.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. I guess my story starts when I was a child. My father had passed away when I was 8, but the year before that, my grandmother had passed away, which was my mother's mother. And so, as you can imagine, with grief, it kind of upheaves everything in your life. And for my mother, who lost her mother and then her husband of 17 years at the time, she was pretty much emotionally checked out after that point, unavailable. And I was the youngest of four, and there was an age gap between me and my siblings, and so I've kind of felt like a lone wolf, really, in my childhood. And that really set the stage for the work I'm doing today. I did have some traumatic experiences that happened in my youth after that. I was molested, and that really just set me off on a path of self destruction, really, into my 20s. I did enlist in the military and ended up going overseas. But this, after I was married at the time, and married my high school friend actually, which was a really remarkable story how that came to be because we neither of us really saw that coming. I think we were friends for 7 years and then ended up getting married. And then he was also in the military and he volunteered and we deployed together. And anyway, we've been together over 20, it'll be 23 years, 24, something like that. Feels like a lifetime. But yeah, it's everything, all my experiences. I have a pretty eclectic background, and I've gathered a lot of tools in my toolbox that first and foremost were to help myself. And but not at first. At first it was I need to learn this so I can help other people. It was always to help other people when really the first person I needed to help was myself. And eventually that clicked. And with grief recovery, which changed my life, changed honestly, it really is the catapult and the catalyst for opening up my eyes to my own potential. All of the certifications that I have came after I addressed my grief and anger. I had lots of anger that I had buried really deeply. And confronting all of that definitely is not easy. And I can see why people, when they're walking out the door to put their shoes on, or when they're sitting down to put their shoes on to walk out the door to some support group or to a new program or to learn a new tool to help them heal, it's really easy to take those shoes off and not go because it's the unexpected, it's the unknown. And what am I going to feel going through this? How am I going? What kind of person will I be on the other side of this? Who am I without this pain? Those are big questions I was grappling with. And it's been I say grief recovery is the gift that keeps on giving. And it really is because it transformed my parenting. I have an amazing relationship with all three of my kids because I worked on myself. I addressed my demons and worked through my pain so that I no longer project that onto them. I no longer have um, this need to feel their love to feel whole, right? Like it's coming from within me because I needed to find my own wholeness. It's you're never going to find it in other people. It has to start with you, and that's probably the greatest lesson that I've gotten out of everything, all the work that I've done personally.
So, would you say that maybe society plays a role in how we interact with life and with the expectations of society, maybe that has, because I feel the same way. I think that it has to start with yourself, but people are afraid to really express their true selves, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that comes from childhood, when we don't feel the support that we need to fully express ourselves, right? Like as a child, there was no room for my emotions, so that anger was displaced and turned in on myself and other people. Truly, I was probably a really difficult person to be around. Um, a really um, I was a hurt friend, right? Like I was, and it wasn't like I was a terrible person. I was actually, I grew up being like the shoulder everyone else leaned on. And I learned how to emotionally calibrate a room, because that's what I had to do growing up. There was a lot of anger and fighting in my home, and because my mother had remarried and it wasn't a good marriage, and so many things. Like I'm a Pisces. I'm, this emotional person. I feel deeply empathetic, empath type of person. I needed a lot of sleep as a child. And I'm going off on this tangent, but the point is that we learn how to cope and how to respond to life by the age of 15. 75% of that is actually by age 3, if you can believe that, because children are sponges and they take in all the physical and emotional cues from their environment and the people around them. And, you know, there was no talk of grief or um, emotional intelligence in the 70s and 80s. And um, not like today. There's a lot more resources to help parents today. Um, I do see a pendulum swinging really far to the other side, though, on that. But, and I think there is a balance that needs to be found. But I do feel now, especially as a society and individuals in society, that we are greatly influenced by other people, by social media, by people in our environment. And I think, just take yourself, for example, or even myself. Like if you're on social media, you're doing the doom scroll, and it's like, oh, everything's negative, 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 negative. Or you come across something that really just fires you up. It's just kind of grits against your own value system. And you can get sucked into that and, looped into that emotional anger and swept up in that. And then let's say you go into a grocery store and the checkout person isn't friendly to you or says something, and you had just been on social media and you're coming into the store already riled up. And that first interaction, that person's probably going to receive what you just got riled up about, and for no reason really. I see that more than anything right now, is that we're getting swept up into these things that are really out of our control. um they're painful, right? It's painful. It can be really depressing to think about the state of things right now. But I do hold out hope that um with the breakdown comes the breakthrough. And I feel like that's true as on an individual level as much as I feel that's true on a collective level.
So because you have your coaching and your podcast and you help people with uh grief. There's different kinds of grief, but what is it that keeps somebody from not moving forward Or what would you say that you can help somebody with to take some action to move forward?
Well, I think it's first of all, the person needs to ask themselves how they're perceiving moving forward, because my moving forward might be very different from someone else's version of moving forward. My version of moving forward is the pain of the past is no longer dictating my behavior in the present, and or my attitude, or my how I perceive or see the world, or how I perceive myself or others. And that's the biggest crux, I think, of grief, is that it lifts, it puts a veil over our face. We don't see ourselves clearly, we don't see other people clearly, and so we resort to other behaviors to feel better. We call them short-term energy relieving behaviors, or STIRBs for short. Could be shopping, could be gambling, could be relationships, could be alcohol, could be drugs, could be um, doom scrolling, right? Social media. It could be fantasy. It could be a number of things. Anything that you resort to feel better. And um, really, what you're doing is you're avoiding, and you're not sitting in whatever it is you're feeling you're trying to avoid. And you do that long enough and hard enough, and that's where your energy goes. I mean, you can find yourself years later just sitting in the same place because your past is still dictating your present.
Mm.
And so that's what I mean about moving forward. Truly moving forward is addressing the pain of the past. It's becoming emotionally complete with the loss of hopes, dreams, and expectations, and anything that you wish would have been different, better, or more. We don't address those things, and we're not taught how to do that. Definitely not as children. And so that's kind of my mission statement, is let's change the conversation. Let's talk about grief like we talk about the weather.
So, would you say that there is sometimes people trick themselves into believing that they moved forward? And how do they really know that they've moved forward if they think that they have, or no one? Do they feel like differently, or do they know that they're different, or, you know, those kind of things? And does somebody really know that they've moved forward in
That's a
that
great
way?
question. That's a great question. And I would say it comes with self-awareness. So if you don't have self-awareness, you're not going to recognize it. And if you do, in order to do that, you need to pause. You need to sit with yourself. And what I didn't do for so many years, 30 plus years, is I didn't ask myself better questions. Who am I without this pain? Who could I be without this pain? And it hinders our potential when um, it stunts us. It stunts our growth when we don't make our healing a priority. And when I say healing, it's not like, so I went through grief recovery, now I no longer have grief, or now I no longer miss my dad, or I no longer reminisce about what maybe could have been, right? Like, that's grief. This is the thing, we're always going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
I've grown up with it. But it's grown up with me. I've evolved with it. I've allowed myself to evolve. And I think that's where people who have not moved forward can ask themselves, have I been growing? Have I been evolving? I guarantee grief is growing you, but you have a choice. And that's the thing. So many grievers feel like they don't have a choice, but you do. And you just need that self-awareness to, what do I want out of life? Ask yourself the better questions. What do I want out of life? Is this how I want my days to be? Would my loved one want me to be living like this, feeling like this? So moving forward is stepping into fear. It really is stepping into fear, being brave and courageous in your decisions.
It might be a little tough at first, but it's going to be well worth it, right?
It is. And everybody has their own timeline. Look, I'm not saying, you got to do this in 30 days or here, hey, I've got a 12-week program that can really help you move forward, but you got to be ready, right? And it took me 30 years to get to that point. Um, Unfortunately, right? And that's why I can say, like, it doesn't have to take 30 years. You can be 3 months out from your loss and you can choose differently. You can choose differently. You can sit with it, really in it. And yes, people are here's the thing too, like what I see, I'm gonna kind of get on a soapbox here. So
It's okay.
what I see in the grief space often, and I see a capitalizing on the pain, people capitalizing on other people's pain. And I think reaffirming, and this is what, here's the thing, like when I was like really in it, right? Like I, it's affirming when someone says to you, hey, look, I'm there too. Um, I don't want to get out of bed. I've gone days without showering. You feel like a wreck. You feel like a train wreck. And someone like me, where I'm at now, would be really probably rub me the wrong way, right? Like, don't tell me I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't tell me that I can feel better. Don't tell me that my life can exponentially explode with joy and passion and purpose because I'm in it. I'm like not showering for 3 days. But here's the thing, there has to come a point, I think, when we have to ask ourselves, is this serving me? And I'm of the belief that the more that we are living into our potential and transforming and transmuting our grief, it raises the vibration of the world. When we have people expressing their gifts, right? When we have people sharing their stories, it lifts. It's like rising tides lift all boats, right? Is that how it goes? Something like that, that expression. A rising tide lifts all boats.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a Pollyanna attitude. It's not, it's doing the hard work. It's not looking for constant affirmation that where you are right now is, it's okay. But then ask yourself, but is it okay with me? And that's why I think so many grievers aren't asking themselves, like, yes, I'm, I'm where I'm at in my life right now. I'm struggling, and that's okay. But is it okay with me? Am I okay with this? I got to the point where I was just sick of my own shit. I'm like, I'm sick of my own shit. I need to figure my shit out. I need to figure myself out. Who am I without this past? I don't see enough people in the grief space talking about that.
So, has your relationship gotten better with your husband and your kids? Because they didn't know you before you didn't have this, right? And they've seen you transform, but do do they feel a difference in you? Like, do they even know the difference? Because they knew you from the beginning as this person with the grief.
Mm-hmm. Well, when my kids were little, I was the ragey mom. Maybe I'm hard on myself. I think I am. I am naturally a little more critical of myself, but that's also softened a lot because of the personal work I've done. Um, yeah, I wouldn't want to be the same person.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get across here too. It's like I don't want to be the same person. I want to continue evolving and growing. That's really hard to do when you're stuck in the past. And people might say too, the past is the past. I've dealt with it. Really? I mean, if you're kind of doing this, like stuffing it down and stuffing it down with food, alcohol, booze, gambling, all those things I just shared, right? Relationships, relationship to relationship to relationship. You're not really, what are you addressing?
Because you were telling me earlier that, now you're doing this new um, certification. And I kind of wanted you, before we end, I wanted really to have you talk to me and the audience about what you're doing now and what certification you're doing now, and also uh, how it's affecting your life and your clients' lives.
Yeah, so I'm in a human design certification to be a certified human design reader. And human design is based on your birth details, place, time, date of birth. And so it uses astrology, I Ching, um, something else. I'm really not the best at explaining the nuts and bolts of it. All I can tell you for sure is that it has been really freeing and kind of the permission slip to live into my design, how I am designed to be, how um, what my gifts are, um, what my shadows are, right? Like it's highlighted the juicy and the not so juicy parts of my design. And one thing that I learned was that I'm a 4/6. That's a profile. 4/6 is the profile lines. There's two profile lines. 4/6 emotional manifester. So emotional meaning that's my authority. Like I have these waves, the highs and the lows. And I definitely do. And then on top of that, I'm a Pisces. So I've heard more times than I can count, I'm too sensitive, I'm too emotional. All my life, I've heard that. And that is my gift. That is my gift. My sensitivity is my gift. And it's my superpower. And that's in learning that I was a manifester type. There's manifesting generators, which make up manifesting generators and generators make up most of the population. 50, like I think it's like 70 some percent of the 72% of the population. They're like the worker bees of the world. They're like the people that get stuff done. They have the, access to this consistent energy. And then there's manifestors like me, which make up 9% of population or so. And then reflectors make up 3% ish. And then there's or excuse me, projectors make up 3%, and then reflectors make up 1%.
Mm.
And what makes a person a reflector is that all of their energy centers are open. So they are literal sponges in the world. And I have so much sympathy and empathy for reflectors. Um, but learning I was a manifester, what's very different about us is that we don't have this consistent energy. The typical 9 to 5 does not work for us. And so we are operating in a world as a non-sacral, which I said, the manifesting generators and generators are like the working bees. They're the sacrals. And then we have manifestors, projectors, and reflectors, which are non-sacrals. And so much of the world is operating as a sacral society. It's like the night, it's the grind, it's get her done, it's all of that. But yet, that's not how we are built as a non-sacral. And so learning that has been really freeing because, there's a lot of pressure in the world and in society to produce, right? And so, yeah, it's really helped me. It's opened up my eyes to um, how I'm designed. And really, anger is more not self-theme for a manifester. And so, which is ironic because, I have such a deeply rooted relationship with anger. And so learning that alone has been eye-opening. So yeah, it's been amazing to explore and it's another tool out there to help you to get to know yourself.
So that is wonderful. I think I did something like that about 10 years ago about learning about myself. I have to go back and look at my papers because I used to live in San Diego and I had a friend that did this uh, mapping thing. So I took one of her courses and I have to re-look at all of my information to really see what I am. Um, I would like to know, out of all the tools that you use and utilize, what are the maybe the two main things that you do to help those people that are in that grief? I mean, how can you walk me through what you would do to help somebody start uh, not feeling their overwhelm and how to get them really wanting to learn that? Or do they have to want to learn about themselves first before they come see you?
I think it's a peeling of the layers. And as you do the work of working through grief and, uh, just looking at your energetics of your body and your life and all of that, like you peel back the onion. It's learning. You learn as you go. I'm still learning and I love learning and I'll never stop loving to learn and learning about myself. And so again, it's the tool that I am champion for is the grief recovery method. It's evidence-based. Kent University did a study on it. Like I said, it changed my life. It's changed thousands and thousands of lives. It's been around for over 40 years. And, it was started by a veteran who was on the brink of suicide. And he asked himself a better question. And that question was, what do I wish would have been there for me? And that set him on a path to developing the Grief Recovery Institute and the Grief Recovery Method. And there's a book, the Grief Recovery Method Handbook, which I highly recommend as a place to start to learn about grief. I think we don't even understand grief as a society. We're not taught about grief. There are myths of grief. Time heals. That's a myth. Keep busy. That's what a lot of people do. Keep busy they distract themselves, right? Don't feel bad. It's not okay to feel bad. Yeah, it is a-okay to feel bad. My whole shtick then is, how long do you want to feel bad? That's my whole, so let's transmute this. Let's work with this. Let's evolve with this. Let's grow with this. That's kind of my whole mantra when it comes to grief. But yeah, grief recovery method, bar none. And a lot of people got, um, you know, I can meet people where they're at too. So, and that's where the energy healing, biofield tuning, I've had clients that have come to me for energy healing and realize it's grief that really is the root of their energetics in their body and things that are manifesting physically, and have worked with me in grief recovery as a result. Um, and then I have tons of free resources. I do meditations. I have those on my website to meet people where they're at. Lots of free ebooks on my website as well to meet people where they're at. But my greatest joy is walking with people through the deep emotional pain. And that's not, I mean, that's my gift, I would say.
And so, with your coaching, you said that you have a 12-week program. You said also that is it online or they have to come to you? I'm assuming it's online, right?
It's
Do you
online.
ever
I can
have,
do it in person too, but it's online.
so is it better to see you in person or online is okay too? Or it doesn't
Online's
matter?
okay too. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can do groups. I could do an online group, and that's a little bit of a different dynamic. And I keep it very small. I keep those very small. I have done them in person, and I love that too. But yeah, that's able to be done as a group as well online.
You showed me your little tuning fork. What is that?
All right. Yeah, so this is the 432 hertz. Um, so yeah, we have unweighted tuning forks, and then we have weighted tuning forks. So the weighted, you don't hear the sound. These are primarily, I use these quite a bit on the body. And even distance. I only work remotely now, doing energy healing, because I feel as a practitioner, I, yeah, I just do remote now because I'm very rural too. So for people to come to me was really difficult too. Um, so yeah, I biofield tuning.
How do you do that online? Like,
So
let's
I
say
can,
I'm way over here and you're way over there.
yeah,
Can we do
yeah.
something?
So I connect with people, usually live on a, Google Meet typically is what I use. And um, I do the session live. Um, and it's basically like I tap into your energy, right? And I it's like your hologram is on my
Okay.
table. Yeah.
Okay.
And I work through so biofield tuning is a little different from Reiki. I'm a Reiki master as well. And Reiki more so addresses the energy that's like in your body. Whereas biofield tuning, it's if you think of an apple and you cut it in half, that toroidal shape it's the energy that extends 5 to 6 feet out. So we work on a timeline of gestation, um, is out here, and the closer you get to the person's body is present day. And so we work in a timeline, right? And some incredible things have come up in people's timelines. Um, but
Where do you tap if the person's not there on
I
your
don't tap.
tuning fork?
Oh, so like I have a puck that I use
I
for
see.
to strike the fork, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or I use, the palm of my hand. But yeah. And no pucks need a Canadian puck because not all pucks are created equal.
I
So,
see.
but yeah,
Really interesting.
yeah, I mean, it can seem a little woo-woo to people, but we don't know how cell phones really work, do we? I mean, how can we communicate? I'm here and you're there, right? Like how do we explain that?
Correct.
And so it's frequency. That's all it is frequency. Everything is energy.
Do you work with your own family or is it just people that you meet?
That's a great question. I have worked with my children. Um, my daughters will ask for it.
Oh,
Um, but I do find it difficult to work on my husband. So I prefer other people, other practitioners. Sometimes when you're that close, it's, hard to separate. Like I'm so intertwined with my husband's energy. We're like he's actually a 4-6 emotional manifester as well. So we are very similar in a lot of ways. I joke that I married the male version of myself. But yeah, so I do find it more difficult to work on him, but it could just be where he's, maybe, yeah, I prefer not to put it that way.
interesting. Um, so because the show is called Live, Love, Survive, Thrive, can you tell me how this live, love, survive, thrive as a definition in your words? How do you live, love, survive, thrive?
I don't feel I really did that until I addressed my grief. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Hmm?
I do feel like I'm thriving now. but that wasn't always the case.
And so you said that you have a mantra and a quote that you live by. Can you share that with our people?
Well, it's almost like it's a reflection of my life. And that's why I think I resonate so deeply with it. And my favorite all-time quote is by Kristen Sherry, who is the founder of UMAP, which I'm a certified UMAP coach, which is all about career and life satisfaction. And we use the Gallup strengths. There's four different um, little tests that you take, and then that combined make your UMAP. And it involves your values, it involves your top five strengths and your preferred and least preferred skills. So, anyway, I have a lot of heady stuff for my strengths, strategic input, like a lot of head stuff. But she says her quote is, and it's a my all time favorite, the more you know yourself, the less you look to others to tell you who you are. And I that's been the story of my life. The more that I have come to know myself, the less I've looked to others to tell me who I am. It's finding wholeness within myself. And that's the responsibility of one person, and it's us. We can't get that from anybody else. I mean, you can try to get that from other people, but you'll be sorely disappointed because expectations are planned disappointments.
And how can you catapult somebody's thought process to, want to do this? I'm sure they do want to, but they don't know how. So they do look for support from others at first. And then it's what I'm hearing you say is up to them to decide to really do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the resources that you have can help them start doing it. Is
Right.
that
Yeah.
what I'm hearing?
Yeah. I think you got to start somewhere, right? But my whole thing is it doesn't have to take 30 years.
Mhm.
Like if I would have learned these things, these tools earlier, who knows where I would be right now. But that's grief too, right? Like that's grief too. So I can't wallow in that, but I am very grateful to be where I am today. And it is because of grief recovery.
You were telling me that you have a energy healing quiz, or I thought I saw that in your
Yeah.
information. But can you tell my listeners how to reach you and, talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, my website has all my social media links, everything, I do free consultations, at the unleashedheart.com is my website. Um, and I do have a free energy quiz on there on the energy healing page. I think it's also on the Biofield tuning page and the Reiki page. It should be. But yeah, on the energy healing page for sure is that quiz. And then I also have a grief quiz to kind of recognize where you're at in your grief. And it's not to label you, but it's to help you. It mirrors back possibly like, are you ready for the deep work? Are you more ready to hear other people's stories and feel seen and feel and see yourself in other people's stories? So that's the premise of that quiz, is to kind of gauge where you are at um, in your journey, because it is a journey. And, you know, where I'm at and the deep work that I do with people is not for everybody. It is for everybody. I mean, I take that back. It is for everybody. It doesn't matter what your loss was, because even though it's a method, it's a, I take the same steps with people regardless of their loss. It's unique to you because we're addressing your grief, your stories, your pain. And even though it's a framework, that's how it's customized to every individual. So it is for everybody, but you have to ask yourself, do I want this?
Mhm.
Do I want to do grief differently? That's the program. That's why I named it Do Grief Differently. Do you want to do it differently? Well, then this is for you.
Well, this has been so eye-opening, and I'm sure that many of our listeners really do want to do what you're doing. There are some that maybe have just started understanding themselves, and
Mhm.
then some people that, are in the middle of it, and, maybe some of you really are ready to see and go beyond just the scratching the surface. Well, Victoria Volk is an expert at these things, and I hope that our listeners will reach out to you and hopefully that they will come to find that you are what they're looking for to help them get to the next level. Do you have any other last comments or information that you want to share with us?
So, if you want to kind of see my journey,
Mhm.
after listening to this episode, if you want to hear where I was before grief recovery, that's in my book, The Guided Heart Moving Through Grief and Finding Spiritual Solace. It's on Amazon, but there's a link on my website as well. But that's essentially where I started. The tools, the things that I was diving into that I was finding helping me peeling back the layers before I discovered grief recovery. Energy healing wasn't even a part of that story. Energy healing came after the fact. So, yeah, it's meeting yourself where you're at, but then also asking yourself, what is there more? Could I be, um, again, it comes back to that question, who am I without this pain?
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our Live, Love, Survive, Thrive podcast here. I'm Dr. Kimberly Hubinet,
I'm Victoria Volk.
and thank you for listening. See you on the next episode of Live, Love, Survive, Thrive. Bye for now.